Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to a new episode of the Late Night Lake Show podcast powered by 19 Media Group. It is your host, Ricky and Kwame. We're joined today by Jovan Buha of The Athletic after the Lakers' big Game 1 victory over the Memphis Grizzlies, 128-112. Jovan is live, boots on the ground in Memphis, Tennessee. Jovan, how you doing today, my man?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for having me.
Of course, bro. I mean, before we get started and get your thoughts on the game and everything, the energy and the Lakers' introduction to the playoffs for a lot of their players, I just got to ask, Memphis is notorious or famous for its chicken. Have you ventured out to Gus's yet? Have you indulged in the Memphis cuisine at all?
I have. I did have it DoorDashed, so I did not have it at Gus's yet.
Right.
I probably will make a second trip. But Central Barbecue, I've had several times in Memphis. And then the other night I had Gus's. I ended up taking a red eye out here, so I was pretty tired on Saturday. So Lakers had practice. Then rest of the day, I was just watching the games in my hotel room, chilling and kind of resting. So I had Gus's delivered, and even delivered, it was amazing. I got four pieces of dark meat, some baked beans, some mac and cheese.
There you go.
It was fire. So definitely, I'm trying not to gain 6 pounds while I'm out here. So I'm here for 6 days.
Yeah, for real.
We're here from Friday to Thursday. So I'm trying to pace myself.
That's hilarious. Gus's is fire. Yeah, I've had it both in Memphis and they opened up a Chicago spot. It's they're legit about their chicken. They don't mess around, man.
No, for real. So Jovan, man, tell us about the environment in Memphis. So they were the winningest home team in the association, 35-6 at home, man. That's crazy. The playoff energy in there had to be crazy. Let us know, just what was it like in the arena? And let us know, did the Lakers fans travel well? I know they traveled well to Chicago and a few other places we've been, but did they travel well to Memphis as well?
I think they traveled well for a playoff game. But I had heard, and I know it kind of been discussed on Twitter and stuff, but there were apparently Memphis Facebook and Reddit and different groups of people selling their tickets only to Grizzlies fans because they knew how many Laker fans are out here, and they were really trying to keep it within the Grizzly fan community. So, still you saw, I walked the concourse. I was actually looking for a coffee and couldn't find one, but walking around, you saw a bunch of Laker fans, a bunch of LeBron jerseys, a bunch of AD jerseys. So definitely a lot of Laker fans there, but that crowd was loud. And they're doing fireworks and
that's hilarious.
In terms of the actual kind of PA and just the sound effects that they have in the arena, definitely one of the loudest in the league.
Wow.
But they have those gold rally towels that they got that they're twirling around, and it's also an interesting mix of depending on the arena, you'll see different types of music, but in Memphis it's very they'll play a lot of rap and 3-6 Mafia and stuff like that, but then they'll also follow it up with rock and country music. So it's kind of this interesting balance of entertainment. But definitely a very loud arena. I mean, definitely anti, parts of it were anti-Lakers, anti-LeBron, LeBron getting booed a lot. But really a fun playoff atmosphere. I mean, I now at this point, I've been to, I would say, old Roracle is still probably the loudest playoff environment I've been in.
Wow.
But this is kind of right up there probably with crypto and maybe Milwaukee as the loudest playoff environments I've been in.
Incredible.
You got some FaceTime in there, man, during the broadcast. I don't know if you watched back, but you were locked right behind Coach Ham. And is that the best media seats in the league? Or are you used to kind of being right there in the middle of the action?
No, that's by far the best media seats in the league. I would say old OKC, they kind of moved us up now. We're not as close as we used to be. And Dallas, you're right there. You're like maybe a row behind where we are in Memphis, but that was crazy. Just like that view on the game, you just see it from a totally different perspective, and that's the closest. And I've sat there before, obviously, but like that's the closest I've watched a playoff game for sure, and just seeing like. I think my biggest takeaway was like how damn big Jaren Jackson Jr. is. Like he kind of makes AD look small, which not a lot of guys. I mean, of course, like a Boban or something like that, but like for the most part, not many guys standing next to AD kind of like make him look a little undersized. And like Jaren Jackson Jr. is like one of those dudes where you see him up close, and it's like you see why he's such an impactful defender just with that length and that athleticism. But yeah, it was cool, like being so close to the Lakers huddle. You could hear them chirping at the refs. You could hear them calling out actions, and guys getting into conversations about this play or that play or this coverage or whatnot. So it was a really cool playoff experience, and definitely I would say that my favorite playoff game from like a viewing standpoint. Definitely the best experience I've had at a game.
Yeah, no, I bet. I was like, wait a second. We know that guy. That's a friend of the show right there, Jovan. I assumed your late night Lake Show stuff was under the the tie and the suit. So dope.
I wasn't wearing a tie. No, I wasn't. Okay. I was casual. I keep it casual. I think
there we go. Oh. All right, let's get into the game, man. I mean, it was everything a Lakers fan could hope for a road game one as the 7th seed going into a 2 seed. Kwame already said they were the best home team in the league. And guess what? It did not matter. The veteran Lakers, pretty much for the majority of the game, had some control or some version of dominance over the Grizzlies. Yeah, there were spurts where the Lakers forgot how to control a basketball, and Jaren Jackson Jr. did go Pollo Loco in stretches in the fourth quarter, but overall the Lakers seemed like the better team. Jovan, the most dominant player on the court for the game was Anthony Davis. I think from what he did on the defensive end, leading the way with 7 blocks, a playoff career high, adding in his 22 points and 12 rebounds in 37 minutes. Yes, there was that scare. So I guess let's start there. AD in the second quarter did have to go out for what somebody's calling a stinger. So is there any further update, or were there any other discussions about that weird bang up that AD had in the second?
No, from what I've been told, AD's fine and he's expected to play on Wednesday. So the testing that they did I mean, look, I was right there. It was on the side of the floor that I was on, and right. Just seeing him sit down, having the medical staff test him out, him not being able to move or his arm was just kind of dangling. Like he wasn't really able to straighten it or lift it. Like it was crazy. I was like, this is like Lakers season over. And at that point, they had been in control of much of the first half. Memphis went on that run to go into halftime. But I was like, this is as good of a start as you could reasonably have. AD's been dominant defensively. LeBron hasn't gotten going yet. I figured he would probably get going in the second half. That didn't really happen. But, so I was like, this is the ideal start you want on the road in a game one. And now the best player on the floor gets what looked like at the time probably a season-ending injury. And because there wasn't much of a discussion of like, it was like he basically went straight, like they checked out his arm and he went straight to the locker room. And when that happens, you're like, okay, that's not a great sign. And there was only a minute 15 left. So, I think that played a factor of let's just get him into the locker room early and get going on this. And, why risk, just leaving him out here for the last minute 15. But at the time it looked bad, but the Lakers obviously dodged a bullet with that one. Memphis was not as fortunate with the jaw situation. And, so I think though AD, like that was a defensive masterclass, 7 blocks, 3 steals. Last player to put up those numbers was Draymond Green in 2016. And then, 20 points, 10 rebounds, 7 blocks. Last person to do that was Tim Duncan in 2007. So like these are numbers that are historic, that have been done by some of the best playoff defenders we've seen over the last couple decades. And AD is right up there with just about anybody at his peak. And I thought you saw the Lakers adjust very well to Ja in the pick and roll. They're playing AD up, making him a defensive playmaker. Also put him on Tillman so he could roam a bit and be that eraser from help side and weak side and whatnot. So like, I just thought the Lakers were locked into their game plan. They defended Ja about as well as you can, especially in a playoff setting. And I think AD, deserves a bulk of that credit for just going out there and putting on a show defensively.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Anthony Davis is incredible. And we all know that. And hey, he told us at the beginning of the season, he's like, look, hey, when I'm on the court, I'm a motherfucker out there. Like, it's not easy to deal with me, and we see it. We see it. Obviously it's just the help that's the problem. But outside of that, when he plays, he plays. But, we saw on Sunday, he wasn't the leading scorer. But we do assume at some point in this series, he'll be the leading scorer of one of these games, if not multiple. I know you just spoke a little bit about how he was used defensively by the Lakers, but what you see in the way that Memphis played AD defensively, the Lakers may be studying their film room, and how do you imagine they can capitalize on more opportunities to continue to have him kind of be the focal point and have him kind of carry us through this series?
Well, I think Memphis made it clear that they want anyone else to beat them other than LeBron and AD. They're loading up against those guys. They're setting doubles. They're sending blitzes. They're sending, help. They're shading over, loading up the paint. And I think that's not going to change because I know we're going to talk about Rui in a little bit, but Desmond Bane basically said we don't think Rui can do this again. So let's see if he can do it again in game 2. And what that tells me is Memphis is going to defend the Lakers probably in a very similar way to the way they defended them in game 1. I think one adjustment might be defending Austin Reeves a little bit different and not dropping against him in the pick and roll and just letting him cook them the way that he did. But aside from that and maybe treating Austin as almost a third star or a legitimate number 3 option, I think they're probably going to give Rui the same shots. I mean, Rui shot 29.6% with the Lakers in the regular season. So that guy, that type of player hitting 5 threes in a playoff game is not something you can really game plan for. And if you're the Grizzlies, you're probably looking at it like, if that's how we're going to go down is just Rui hitting all these threes, then like that we're going to live with that because we're not letting AD and LeBron go off. And like those two combining for 43 points to me, that's probably the fewest number of points they're going to combine for in this series, if not the entire playoffs. So I think if you're the Lakers, you left some stuff on the table with LeBron and AD. I think you obviously could have gone more to the LeBron AD pick and roll, especially in that fourth quarter. Some more pin down actions to get AD the ball in the move. I think there are different ways to kind of get creative. The one thing I think the Lakers got to be cognizant of kind of moving forward is I feel like Darvin, every time he talks about teams doubling AD or doubling LeBron, he's kind of like, well, and guys have these performances. He's like, well, we're playing with what the defense is giving us. And, they want to shut down those guys. And okay, we'll go to Austin. Okay, we'll go to Rui. But like, I think at some point you have to come up with a counter to the way that defenses are guarding LeBron and AD, because I don't think this is sustainable, right? Like, Austin probably, I think he can get, 23 might be a little high, but like Austin can get you 16, 18, 20, 22 a night, I think pretty consistently. Rui, I don't think is going to have another 29-point game in this series. If not the play, like we'll see. I could be wrong, but
don't limit my man. The sky's the limit for Rui right now. He's been on one.
But I think the Lakers are playing into the Grizzlies' hands. They're just going to be like, okay, well, you're going to double AD, so we're just going to swing the ball and take the open shot. Like, yes, you want to do that more often than not, but if that's really going to be your counter, is just swing the ball and take the open shot. Like that to me, at some point, it is going to come back to bite you, where Rui's going to go 0 for 7 from 3. Austin is going to have an off night, go 4 for 12, not get to the free throw line. They're not going to be calling fouls. And like all of a sudden, if LeBron and AD have 43 points, you're probably going to lose that game. So I do think the Lakers have to work on their ways to counter, their ways to get those guys some easier looks, to use the way that the Grizzlies are loading up against them, to their advantage. LeBron's going to have to make outside shots. You saw him make that 3 late. AD, I think at some point he's going to have to make some outside shots, but I think the Lakers got to get a little bit more creative with the offensive sets of not, allowing Memphis to load up against them the way that they have. So that would be my one kind of counter for the Lakers offensively. But overall, I mean, I think that's how Memphis is going to defend them. And at some point it is going to kind of come down to, can the Lakers role players make enough shots to make Memphis potentially think twice? Because I think if Austin comes out and drops 25 next game, Memphis is going to have to defend him differently. Like, they're going to have to make that adjustment. If Rui hits another few threes, they're probably going to have to defend Rui a little bit differently. So I think it is, there's a lot of nuance to it, but I think the Lakers have, their role players have to continue to make shots, keep the defense honest, but the Lakers also have to look, I think, to get more creative with the ways that they free up AD and LeBron.
Absolutely. You saw throughout the game, AD was freed up for a lot of dunks. And those are the indicators of, now he is working inside out and he's cooking. But to get those opportunities, the guards got to win their matchups, right? And we saw a lot of Austin Reeves winning his matchups. D'Angelo Russell, we'll talk about him a little bit later for everything that's said about his shooting in the first half, was struggling. He was finding Anthony Davis, and he had one pass that I was like, I don't even know how AD recognized that the ball was coming. He got blocked on it, but it was just, he threaded the needle on it. And I think just the downhill motion that the Lakers are trying to make a concerted effort to do is only going to build AD's dominance, and they're going to keep sending them to the free throw line, man. Anthony Davis is obviously a very capable free throw shooter. They're not going to play hack-a-shack with him. The more we see our guards winning their matchups, I think the more we're going to see those AD stat lines increase. So, as much as it's about, Anthony Davis asserting himself, not settling for jump shots, the turnaround jumper was going down a little bit last game. That's always fun to see. Yeah. Those looking good. I think we'll need to continue to see the team effort in making sure that the big fella is getting fed. So I also found it hilarious that Taylor Jenkins' strategy for Anthony Davis were, let's just get him in foul trouble. Let's try that with one-on-one matchups. And God bless Xavier Tillman. He's also a member of Big Boy U. I appreciate his game. But brother, trying to go off the dribble on Anthony Marshawn Davis Jr. is not a good game plan. Jeff Van Gundy even said it himself. So we're excited. We're excited that even our superstars, when not leading in scoring, the Lakers end up with a comfortable win. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we get back, the main storylines, the Bash brothers, Austin and Rui and Austin. We're going to figure out a nickname for them too eventually, but damn it, they did they MFing thing, and we're going to give them their flowers. Late Night Lake Show with Jovan Buha. We'll be right back.
The Late Night Lake Show podcast is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the best legal way to play daily fantasy player props in states like California, New York, Texas, and more. You pick 2 to 5 players and an over-under on their projections, and you can win up to 10 times on any entry. The best part is you can mix players from different sports. You could take the over on LeBron combined with the under on Mahomes in the same entry. Prize Picks is the easiest way to play daily fantasy because it's just you versus the projected numbers. Just use our promo code LNLS, and any deposit you make can receive 100% instant deposit match up to $100. So go support the brand and go win you some money. It's the best of both worlds. Again, use our promo code LNLS.
In the words of Desmond Bain the Fifth, I don't even know if he's a junior or anything. I just like adding that. He said post-game, it's probably the best game of his career. It's a 7-game series. Let's see if he can do it again on Wednesday. Talking about Rui Hachimura. Challenging another professional athlete publicly who is not an abysmal scorer to do it again. That's that kind of locker room playoff content that I love to see. So shout out Desmond Bain. Rui Hachimura and Austin Reeves were the stars of the game from just a viewing perspective, right? They led the charge on offense. Rui went Pollo Loco, right? 5 for 5 from 3, 29 points, setting a Laker bench player career high in the playoffs, tying Michael Thompson. Shout out Michael MT for that. They wanted Rui to take that, like you said, Jovan, like we talked about, like it was obvious, but Rui was still hitting Rui shots, right? He was getting those ISO possessions, backing his player down, 2 dribble, turn over the shoulder, butter, right? I can't say more about Rui Hachimura like on this podcast, right? Like I said, the trademark paperwork's in, we're getting merchandise, we're doing everything but naming my next son Rui.
Don't rule it out.
Yeah, I guess we can't rule that out either, right? At the end of the day, right, this was Rui's best game of maybe his career, right? With everything, considered.
Yeah.
Do you think Memphis really is going to go into this next game saying, do it again? And if so, do you think that the Lakers are just going to go, all right, bet, or are they going to try, like you said earlier, try to start working on those adjustments for the adjustments?
I think that they're probably going to leave him open from deep again. And I think, the other way, like if you were looking at it from the Lakers side and a Grizzlies shooter who shot 20, like if Dylan Brooks, although he's a little better than 29.6%.
You could have fooled me, man.
If Dylan Brooks hit 5 threes, I think the Lakers would be like, all right, do it again. So I think there's just kind of an element of like, you can't take away everything defensively. You got to live with some things. And I think the Grizzlies would much rather, Rui attempt 5 threes than Austin Reeves, than D'Angelo Russell, than Malik Beasley. Like, I think they're just, you gotta live with something defensively. It's more about what you want to take away and live with. I think in a playoff series. So, I mean, to me, looking at, I went back, I wrote an in-depth preview for this series. I went back and watched all 3 games. I kind of tried to, it was tough because Ja, LeBron, and AD each missed at least one game. LeBron and AD didn't play in the same game. So like you couldn't really get a full sense of what this matchup would look like. But the one of the takeaways I came out of it with was I felt like this was going to be a Rui series. Like to me, the X factor for the Lakers was between Austin and Rui, just because the way that Memphis plays defense, they are loading up on the paint and having a guy, one of the things they kind of give up and kind of force you to live with is like a guy like Rui is going to eat in the mid range. Like that's just one of the things Memphis is going to give up. They're also obviously not going to defend him at the 3-point line. So if Rui can hit a couple threes, get a few mid-range jumpers, like that already is up to 14, 16 points. Like,
now what?
And that's how he got to 29. So I feel like also with the way that they completely ignore Vando, like Vando had his role of challenging Ja and defending him full court and hounding him and stuff. But one, we'll see what happens with Ja if he plays again in this series. But 2, I think the way that Jaren Jackson Jr. was able to ignore Vando and load up in the paint, like Rui, that's a tougher assignment. That's a tougher situation where, again, if you leave Rui, you saw what he could do. And they rotate over to him. Okay, that's when he puts the ball on the floor, can get to the rim, can dunk on you as he did on Triple J, or can hit you with the midi. So I think for Rui, this is a big Rui series. I think a lot of what he does, he can exploit against Memphis and them not having that interior size with Steven Adams and Brandon Clark. And, I think Santi Aldama and Xavier Tillman are obviously big step down from those 2 guys. So I think this is a big Rui series. And again, I don't know if he's going to hit 5 threes again in a playoff game. I don't know if he's going to drop 29 again. But he could, to me, consistently be a guy in that like 12 to 16 point range. And that's realistically like what the Lakers need from him. And if he does that, I think they're in great shape.
Kwame, you're about to get into Austin, but real quick, I just wanted to emphasize that last point, Ron. Yes, Rui might not hit 5 threes, but I think what is so different about this Laker roster now is the Lakers have multiple players that could hit 5 threes in a game, right? Like Austin Reeves, well capable of going crazy from three, right? Then you got Beasley, who is in all of his, hot and coldness. He's here to knock down 5 threes a game, right?
Yeah.
Troy Brown Jr., if he's not behind bars after the next game for a slow performance, could also hit 5 threes a game, right? We'll not even get into LeBron James going crazy. So I think just to wrap up the Rui conversation, it's like, I think that Grizzlies fans trying to cope with this as please, he's not going to do that, right? Well, the most unlikeliest Laker just did it. Now you got everybody else with higher probabilities of also going nuts over these series. Oh, yeah. And LeBron James didn't even play up to his scoring ability. So while everybody's, trying to score this into an anomaly bucket, just be wary that this is what the playoffs is about. Your role players stepping up and making big moments out of themselves. Go ahead.
Yeah, man. Role players stepping up is definitely something that we saw yesterday. I mean, they essentially are the ones that won us the game, right? But yeah, look, not much needs to be said about Austin Reeves' performance, except he just continues to show us and the rest of the league, why the Lakers fans have been so high on him all this season, even the end of last season. So Austin Reeves dropped 23 points on 8 of 13 shooting, 14 of those coming in the fourth quarter. Austin accounted for 12 straight points in the fourth quarter, scoring, passing, the whole deal. Hit Rui with that clean behind the back pass. It nuts.
That was
crazy pass.
Yeah.
Beautiful, man. And in that moment to do that, that's bold. That takes some guts. But him and Rui were definitely the definitions of the Bash Brothers, out here taking turns just violating the Grizzlies from the third quarter on. Those guys were absolutely giving it to them. But Jovan, I mean, this was his first playoff game. This is an undrafted player, first playoff game, and man, did he show. What impressed you most about Austin's performance? I mean, I know as a Laker fan, someone who's covered him, this isn't incredibly surprising to us, but still, having that kind of effort in that kind of environment under that kind of pressure, it's got to be impressive. So what are your thoughts on Austin Reeves' performance?
I think just him rising up to the moment, and I think as people who've watched him the last couple of years and seen some of his performances, I don't think we were surprised by it, but you just never know how a guy's going to react to the playoff stage. And we've seen guys put up bigger numbers than Austin and really struggle in that first playoff game or against playoff defenses. So you just never really know what a guy is going to be like in that moment until you see it. But Austin, I mean, my favorite thing was the I'm him. Like, I just thought, honestly, last night was Austin's arrival moment on the national stage. And I think it's kind of been a cute story where he was kind of the spiritual successor to Alex Caruso. he was the right, he was the white role player on the team that, scrappy, high IQ, makes the right play, like, et cetera. But like, Austin's grown out of that box, in my opinion. Like, Austin is
straight up.
I don't want to throw around the S word because that's a big word, but like at some point we have to have the conversation of like, there are times he looks like a legitimate star. And again, like, it's got to be a greater body of work. It's been 2 years and really him playing at this level has been more of like since early March, he kind of broke out and, since he came back from his hamstring injury and, basically forced Darvin's hand into making him a starter. Yeah. But if he continues, like if the Lakers make the conference finals, whatever, like, and Austin is a consistent 17, 18 plus with the efficiency he's had, with 4, 5, 6 assists a night, 4 or 5 rebounds a night. Like, I think there's a legitimate conversation there of just what his ceiling is. And, kind of the way that the Lakers look at him. Like, already I wrote it last night, like he's starting to make the case of being the third best player of the LeBron AD era. Like, right now I'd say it's probably it's Kuz or KCP or Alex Caruso, like depending on your flavor of
right there though.
Like maybe KCP I'd kind of give, although he was up and down. But Austin's probably been more consistent and better than those guys. And again, kind of no real holes in his game. I think the one thing is maybe he can get a little overmatched physically in certain matchups, but I think his efficiency, his shooting, his playmaking, his multi-positional defense, the rebounding, just the high IQ plays. Like he kind of does a little bit of everything. And we've talked about it before, like just shape shifts into whatever lineup he's in. So I think the way that he took over in that fourth quarter against a top 3 defense,
like, come on, man.
Incredible.
Against, with probably the defensive player of the year favorite in Triple J, defending him in the pick and roll, and like him hitting these shots, making these plays, like that was not something that I think you can just dismiss or take lightly. Like that felt to me like a moment. And him running to half court and flexing, him running to the bench saying I'm him, like that to me was like Austin officially arriving as like, I'm not just some meme on House of Highlights. I'm not some just the kind of token white role player on the Lakers. Like I'm legitimately a good, really good NBA player who's having a moment. And I gotta say this too, like Lakers at 1201, whenever they can offer him that contract, they better come with the 4 years, 50.8. Like that to me now,
pay the
that's
man.
a bargain.
Yeah.
Like I think a team offering Austin, we'll see how the rest of the playoffs go, but like 4 years, 70, 4 years, 80, like that to me is not crazy anymore. Like, I think
they'll do that. Yeah.
So like, it up.
And the Lakers got to match that, in my opinion. Like, and if it costs you another guy and you got to, replace someone else in the rotation with a minimum guy, you do that. But I don't think you can afford to lose Austin Reeves with the way he's been playing.
You'll have to build find a new arena to play in. Like there would not be a crypto.com or like it'd be rubbles in ashes. Austin Reeves. We had a guest a few weeks ago, NBC LA's Marco Duarte, who thinks that Austin's honestly going to pay himself out of a Lakers contract. But, I'm holding on to the fact that the Lakers control that situation, right? Like if they want him to be a Laker, he will be a Laker. So, but to your point, let's not play games about this. Offer the man what you can offer him right now. Let him sign or not sign. Let him go off into the world, find another contract. But at the end of the day, it's like, come on home, my brother. We got about 4 more years to figure this out together. So, AR, man, just tip of the cap, bro. Keep doing what you're doing. And unlike Roy, they ain't say that shit about Austin. I ain't hear nobody say, Austin need to prove it and do that again, because they know. Because they know that boy is about it. So we gonna need more of that hashtag good content out of Austin.
So we got to talk about it. We have to. LeBron's feel out games. This is a historic game ones for LeBron are typically, his feel out games, doesn't overexert himself, doesn't, necessarily always leave his imprint on the game too much. But, this is the all-time leading scorer in NBA history, year 20. Yesterday felt like a bit of a feel out game for LeBron, but honestly, in a win, I don't think Lakers fans can ask for anything more. He's getting to see the defense, how they're going to guard him, that sort of thing, and role players stepped up and we won the game. But we know LeBron's been making a concerted effort to take a backseat to Anthony Davis and let him kind of be the focal point of the offense. And even though AD wasn't the leading scorer, how'd you feel about LeBron's play? And do you think this is acceptable as a quote unquote feel out game for him? And I'm sure you expect him to pick up the rest of the series as do we.
Yeah, I think some of the turnovers were a little concerning.
Yeah.
And it really was a second straight game. With the other being the play-in, where like LeBron just had some head scratching. Like he's always going to have kind of the one bullet pass that gets intercepted. Like that's just part of it. But just some forced passes through traffic that he doesn't normally make. Again, I felt like the last couple of games he just had probably like 4 or 5 turnovers that you just don't really see from LeBron.
Right.
Or you'll see them, once every 10 games, not like in back-to-back games.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten the sense he seemed a little tired to me. Like I've noticed him asking himself out of games, a little bit more than usual. And, I just wonder if maybe the workload of, kind of that race to the play-in game and just the end of the season, him coming back a little bit earlier than expected, like maybe that caught up to him a little bit. Lakers had 8 games in 14 days. Like, I just think there was a little bit of a grind there, which is why for him having these breaks in between the games is so important. So I suspect, by game 2, game 3, we'll have that vintage LeBron performance that we're all accustomed to. Probably game 3. I mean, being back in LA, the first, real sold out playoff game since 2013. I want to say, like that's going to be a big moment. So I'm not worried yet. I think if he has another one in game 2, that's when it starts to be like, okay, what's going on with LeBron? But I think for him, the difference maybe now versus in the past is like, I think in the past, even if Austin had started to have that moment, LeBron might have been like, okay, well, like I trust myself. I'm LeBron. Like I'm going to run the show to close this game. But I think the part of it was like, Austin, have your moment, do your thing. You're hot. This is working. But another part of it was too, probably like, I think he was a little bit tired. It was just like, if I can get this rest over these last few minutes and I don't have to exert myself and we can still win this game, like it's almost the same as it being a blowout and him sitting the last 5, 6, 7 minutes of a game. So like, I thought, LeBron's been one of those guys who kind of knows how to exert himself on the basketball floor and kind of selectively using his energy. And I almost felt like down the stretch of that game, letting Austin and Rui do their thing, only taking one shot in the fourth quarter, like that was kind of his version of that, of if I don't have to take over and I don't have to exert myself, that's kind of a win all around because we're still winning the game, but I'm still fresh and kind of getting these next couple of days off. So I'm not really worried about it again, but we'll see how it ends up playing out. I think the Lakers got to run more pick and roll with him. They got to, exploit the mismatches of Brooks and Bane defending him. He's so much bigger than those guys. Obviously Brooks is gonna, battle and do some dirty stuff and be an annoying pest. But
he tried. He looked a little annoying out there. He looked a little pesky.
Yeah.
He
was.
got in foul trouble in that first half. Had to sit his ass down after 10 minutes, but that comes with.
Then they threw out Roddy, which like Roddy just looks like they found an NFL player and just threw him
slapped the jersey.
He's uncomfortably big, and it really don't make sense. Like you said, Triple J was a monster. That's a monster that looks sense on the basketball court. Oh boy, is just a bowling ball of muscle. So yeah. He could have been an Aaron Donald type build out there, dominating the D line. But here we are. So, Jovan, we're gonna get you up out of here. A couple questions left, man. You brought up Ja, right? But that looked nasty. His fall looked not great. His fingers pretty much came all the way back. This was the same hand that was already taped up. I don't know. It was pretty vague. The most clarity we got about the injury was from Ja himself, who sounded pretty depressed about it. What's your take on the Ja injury, man? Like, is this, you said he might be missed multiple games.
Yeah, well, I don't, nothing's come out yet. I don't have a sense on the timeline. I do think it looked bad in person, just hearing him kind of scream and that was even I think worse than the AD situation because he just ran. He basically got up holding his hand and just ran straight to the locker room. Like he didn't even sit down for evaluation. That was one of those just like, I mean, similar to the Tyler Hero situation that, Tyler was able to stay on the floor, but like that was he tried to basically run to the locker room and the play hadn't stopped yet. So he had to stay on the floor.
He had to get that shot off too, though.
He had to get that shot off.
He made it.
Oh, he smacked that?
Yeah, with the broken hand.
Bro, he hit nothing then. That ball went straight. That was the best shot I've ever seen off a broken hand.
But yeah, so I think with Ja, like, the kind of proverbial, I'm not a doctor, but it did not look good watching the replay and the way he landed, that already being an injury, his pessimism after the game. So I would suspect he's at least out for game 2 and maybe game 3. And we'll see beyond that. I mean, if it's a multiple broken fingers or torn cartilage or whatever, like torn ligaments, like you're talking about a multi-week absence. So there is, I think, close to 50, if not greater than 50% chance he's out the rest of the series. Wow. But we'll see once there's an official diagnosis. But I would be shocked if he plays game 2, just, at least from a precautionary standpoint. Like it feels like they'll keep him out at least game 2. But that's a series altering outcome. It's unfortunate for the Grizzlies, but I think that their one kind of chance to win this series is just Ja going supernova, being the best player on the floor, being unstoppable. And I mean, you saw even with Jared Vanderbilt in his jersey, he was still able to make some tough shots in the paint. Like, that's just how special he is. But if he's out, I know they've won in the past without him, and even won some playoff games without him. But I just don't think they have enough juice offensively to win this series. So to me, like, if Ja's out, we're talking about a 4 or 5 game series.
Oof, gotta be.
Maybe Memphis gets hot. Bain has a big game. Brooks has his 4 or 5 threes. Triple J had 31. Like, he was tough to defend in the post. Like, there's Tyus Jones goes, like, there's a blueprint for them winning a game, but no Ja. Like, this is, to me, a 4 or 5 game series. If he's able to return, maybe miss a game or two, maybe we're looking at 5 or 6. But to me, that's a huge outcome that really swings this thing if there's no Ja.
Does Memphis have to say anything, right? Like, because I haven't seen any medical update.
No, they have to list. I'm just checking right now to see if there's anything.
Right, like, I would not be surprised if it popped up.
Yeah, no. So by tomorrow, Tuesday, you have the 5 p.m. the night before the game. You have to release your injury report. So by 5 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday, they'll have to release something of Ja's status and an update. But that's obviously basically 24 hours from now. So a lot of time between now and then. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. Like, obviously, you hope the best for him and his hand, and he's obviously been through a lot this season. But to me, that really changed. Like, it probably makes Vanderbilt, like, that probably gives Rui a bigger role, where Vanderbilt isn't as important. I mean, you still want his defense, but you don't need him in that kind of role, hounding Ja, or hounding Tyus Jones in this case. So that makes Rui more important. And then I think you can kind of get a little bit more creative with your offensive lineups.
It's fair. I mean, hey, but the beauty of a 7-game series is, most of the time, the best team is going to win. And unfortunately, like you said, the Grizzlies can get hot here and there without Ja, but to win out a best of 7 series without him, it's going to be a real tall task for them. But let's just get your prediction for game 2, man. We're expecting Ja to be, we saw what happened last game. We saw, obviously, both teams will come back and, implement their adjustments. What do you think for game 2? You think Lakers complete the steal and take 2 back to crypto, or we come back in a split? What are your thoughts just based on last game and even some of the implications for game 2?
Yeah, I'll say I'm going to give 2 answers. I think if Ja doesn't play, or he plays and is clearly hampered, I think the Lakers are going to win. I think if he's miraculously able to play and this wasn't that serious of an injury, and he's loading up on the meds the next couple of days and just, going to the LeBron James hands, I think the Grizzlies probably steal, take back game 2, and it's a 1-1 series. I just think it's harder to win the first 2 games on a series. I don't think there's a big enough gap between these 2 teams that Memphis wouldn't be able to defend home court advantage. But I think the Lakers, I think the thing that's going to get lost in this is people are going to focus on the Ja injury. People are going to focus on, Lakers got a break, this and that. But, like, to me, the Lakers were the better team for 38, 40 of those 48 minutes. Memphis had that dominant run at the end of the second quarter, and those last few minutes, and they had some stretches maybe in like the first and like third where they were even or slightly outplaying the Lakers. But for the most part, LA was in control of this game, in my opinion, from basically start to finish. And I think, with or without Ja, Lakers are the better team and should win this series. So for me, if Ja can go and be at the Ja level that we saw before his injury, I'm going to pick Memphis to win game 2. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think more likely than not, he's out. But even if he plays and just isn't 100% or close to that, I think Lakers are going to win. yeah, I mean, I think right now it's looking like, to me, a Lakers sweep or Lakers in 5.
Yeah, I'd say I'm in the same ballpark. I would say
It's a
Go ahead.
must-win game for Memphis. No matter
Yeah.
how you slice it. Down
Seriously.
2-0, heading on the road, like you're dead. You're done, right? So, we'll see. They know how to hoop without Ja. They've done it multiple times this year, last year. They're a dangerous team, right? Never say never, but at some point, right, there's a lot of stacking chips against them with Steven Adams out. Also, they're just not a completely healthy basketball team. We want Ja to play. We want them out there. Basketball's better when the best players are out. We're seeing some injuries around the league, so we want everybody there, including Anthony Davis, which I see Stephen A. Smith didn't have much to say about him returning and playing after, almost popping a blood vessel at halftime. But that's neither here nor there. Jovan Buha, we know we got to get you back to doing your great things, writing those articles for The Athletic, my man. Thank you so much for stopping by and chopping it up with us again. The Los Angeles Lakers take care of business for game 1. We will see you guys on Wednesday for game 2. Jovan, man, make sure, you use the hotel gym, man. The food good there. We can't have you, you're coming back to LA.
I was at the gym
summer
earlier.
shape.
That's the first thing I did this morning.
My man, appreciate you, dog. Appreciate you stopping by as always.
I appreciate you guys.
For Kwame and Ricky, we'll see you guys on the timeline. Late Night Lake Show. Peace.